basically had no motivation to do any video at all, so we're just gonna do commemorate tonight its 31 nights to a book review on a Stephen King novel called The Dark Half. Now, this story was published in 1989 and tells the story of a famous writer named Thad Beaumont. Now, under his own name, his books don't do very well, but under the name George Stark, his pen name, he's able to be a little edgier, a little more dark with his work. Now, I feel like part of the reason why he does this is because since he figures, actually this is actually I think pointed out in the novel, he figures that no one will, know that it's him, so he can just do whatever he wants since there won't be any consequence really of him going to that kind of edge, Regardless, though, Thad is getting a little sick, a little tired of the George Stark pen name, so he decides to give it up. What's crazy is that Thad even dedicated an entire biography to George. Like he gave him like a criminal record. He gave him like an entire history. He literally made him seem as though he was George Stark was a real person. However, after staging a mock funeral and declaring that he's done with the name George Stark forever, strange, grisly murders begin to take place, and all of the evidence seems to point to Thad. However, he claims to be innocent. Could this be George Stark somehow come to life, trying to get revenge for Thad abandoning him? I'll admit this novel did take me a bit to read since it did kind of slog in some areas despite being only like 420 pages long. However, it did manage to create a very menacing villain that just created a very threatening, mood throughout the story. When he was in the room, you literally felt unsafe you literally don't feel unsafe reading because you know that he has really bad intentions. It was also really creepy given that since George Stark and Thad Beaumont are connected somehow, that George Stark can kind of telepathically speak with Thad because of this. Actually, there is a reason why they can do this, but I don't want to really spoil anything. And it just gets really eerie because it's almost like he gets inside of his, mind. And it's just really horrifying because not only can he do it whenever he wants, it seems, but also he has access to some of Thad's deepest and darkest secrets, and if he wanted to, he could even use them against him. Because of this, he probably knows more about Thad than he knows about himself. I will also point out that George Stark is both the most badass villain because of how ruthless and sadistic he is, and also the most horrifying villain because of how ruthless and sadistic he is. This novel also seems to be saying something about how we can sometimes express our most darkest desires through our writing, like how sometimes a very dark part of ourselves can come out in our writing and whatnot. Hence why Thad wrote those novels in secrets, because those were probably really just dark and disturbing thoughts he's been repressing inside of himself. And George Stark, from what it seems, is also probably a manifestation of all of that. But yeah, I really liked reading this novel. I give it an A. It's not one of my favorite King novels. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but it's definitely got some pretty creepy moments, I'll admit. There's also a theme with sparrows in this story. It seemed like the sparrows were an omen that were meant to warn Thad of the horrible events to come in the novel. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and sub for more content.